Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's Alertus Power Lunch, Mastering Direct HPSA Activation and Management via the CCU, or the Command Control Unit, as you can see as kind of our third person on the screen right here. So during this session, you can discover how to quickly activate and manage your high power speaker arrays, which are the HPSAs, directly from your Command Control Unit, CCU. We'll guide you through hands-on demonstrations of the CCU, including broadcasting live audio for immediate clear communications, executing tone and silent tests to ensure system readiness, and a deep dive into CCU utilities to check status, network details, siren lists, and more. So this is an interactive session, so please feel free to ask any questions using the Q&A feature. And also please be aware that the session is being recorded for training purposes. All right, Sarah, I'll send it over your way.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Brooke. I will go ahead and share my screen here. And I have just a couple of slides to take a look at just to kind of introduce the CCU and the high power speaker array system as a whole. And then we'll spend most of the time walking through the actual CCU that we have in the office here so we can take a look at everything you can do from the LCD screen on that device. But before we get started, I did just briefly want to go over the different layers of mass communication. We definitely recommend whenever you are sending an alert out that you activate multiple layers at a time, ideally at least three, just to make sure that you're sending the message in a variety of ways and that everyone is notified. So the HPSA system fulfills layer 3, which is the outdoor or wide area solutions. So HPSAs, or high-powered speaker arrays, are those big sirens that are able to broadcast long-range clear voice messaging over a wide area. And the communication control unit, or the CCU, is what communicates with those sirens and basically tells them what alert to play. But there are also some other layers that we recommend including in your mass notification strategy. So layer 1 would be any facility-based solutions. So those would be devices like the alert beacons behind me or a PA system that would immediately inform and protect anyone within your buildings. And then layer 2 are the enterprise and network-based solutions. So these are devices like Alertus desktops or a voice over IP phone integration that would transform existing networks into alerting systems. And then again, the outdoor wide area solutions would be fulfilled by the HPSA devices. And then lastly, layer 4 are the mobile solutions or the ways that you could send alerts out to mobile phones. So Alertus can definitely get you covered if you do notice that anything is missing. But again, we're going to focus on that outdoor/wide area solution today. But I did also want to go over some of the customizable configuration options for your outdoor alerting system with our HPSA devices. So the configuration here depends on the wattage, or basically the volume or the area of space that you need to cover. So if you do have just a single siren, that would be 150 watts for the system. And then each additional siren that you add adds another 150 watts. And you can stack them up to create as many different customizable wattage formations as you need, again, based on the area that you need to cover and how widely you do need to broadcast those alerts. And then there are several components to the HPSA, or high-powered speaker array system. Like we were looking at on the last slide, the speakers here are what will actually broadcast the sound that you will hear. And those speakers are going to work with an HPSA cabinet that you can see in this picture here. These boards are amplifiers that are able to amplify the sound to the speakers. And then the HPSA cabinet will also have a blue controller board that looks like this. That's kind of the brains of the sirens, where all the different alert configurations are set up. And then communicating with the speakers is the CCU, or the communication control unit. And that is the box that looks like this. And also we have one, as you can see, in the office here. And the communication control unit is what talks directly to the HPSA speakers and will, again, tell them what alert to play. So the CCU does also have a controller board here that looks similar to the controller board in the siren cabinet. And that is another spot where all of the different alerts are configured so the CCU can directly tell the sirens what to play. And then kind of the last component of the HPSA system would be the Alertus server, which is represented by this picture of the Alertus console login screen here. So like we have shown in previous webinars, you can activate your HPSA systems from the Alertus server. Basically, if you send an activation out from the server is going to communicate with the CCU or the communication control unit, and then the CCU is then going to communicate with the sirens to tell the sirens what to play. But in this webinar, we're going to show how you can just kind of bypass the Alertus server if you'd like. And the CCU does have a screen here with some navigation buttons where you are able to send activations to the sirens directly from the CCU. And then you can also use that screen to check some additional system information and get some status updates on your devices as well. But for the CCU screen, it'll look something like this. There is, like I mentioned, the LCD screen where you can see information, and then these navigation buttons that let you select the options that you'd like. And then there is also a connected microphone that can be used with live audio alerts, which I will demonstrate as well. But I am going to stop sharing this screen and then I'm going to mute myself on my computer and then I'm going to hop over to the CCU so that we can walk through all the functions on that screen. So I'll be right back in a moment. All right. So hopefully you can hear me now
Yes, everything
on
sounds good, Sarah.
the CCU. Sounds good. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So as you can see here, I am at the CCU. This is what the screen will look like when the device is kind of resting. It'll just kind of scroll through some server information. I can see the server status is okay, which is great. And then it'll have that message there that you can press any button just to go to the main screen to select some options. So I'm just going to press the OK button, and then it will bring me back to this homepage here where I can select several options. They are live audio, activation, silent test, utilities, and stop. And we're going to walk through what each of those mean. So I'm going to start with the top one here, live audio. If you press OK to select that option, this is what's going to allow you to send a live audio alert so that you can broadcast your voice over the sirens using the connected microphone that I have here. And once you select live audio, you'll be prompted to specify which sirens you'd like to send that out to. So if you did select all, it would send to all of your sirens. You can also select specific groups of sirens. We don't have any groups configured on our system since we just have a couple in our training room here. But if you did have groups set up for your sirens, then you would see a list of those that you can select from. And then you can also pick select unit. If you did want to send the alert out just to one of your sirens, you'll see all your connected siren devices here that you can select from. But just for this example, I'm going to go ahead and just hit select all. And then it will ask you to confirm one more time if you'd like to perform live audio for all of your sirens. I'm going to move over and select yes. And then it'll say it's waiting. And then it will let us know once we're able to start speaking. So there we go. So now the live audio broadcast has started, but you don't hear anything yet. If you do want to broadcast your voice over the sirens, hopefully you can see, but there is a button here on the microphone that you'll hold down and then you can just speak into it. So I'm going to do that now. So test, test. This is a test, test. So hopefully you could hear my voice over the sirens there, and now I'm no longer holding down that button, so I'm no longer broadcasting my voice over the sirens, but I could hold it down and start talking again. Hello, this is another test. Or whenever I'm done speaking, I can just hit cancel, And then I'll hit yes one more time to confirm. It'll tell me it's waiting, and then that will go ahead and cancel the live audio alert, and it'll bring me back to the main menu here where I could select some other options. So that's live audio. And then if I scroll down to activation, this is what you can select if you would like to send some other activations that you have configured to your sirens. So this is going to show you all the different alerts that you have configured on your controller board. There is an option for live voice that is standard. There's also a tone test. There's an option to cancel active alerts, an option to run a silent system test. There's the live audio option, a message test, and a lot of those are just kind of default messages that you'll probably have as well. But then as you're working with the Alertus implementations team to get your system set up, you're also able to configure some custom activations based on the different alerts that you'd like to have available in your system. So for our example, we do have a national anthem option, and you would continue to scroll through any other alerts that you've added. But maybe just for an example, maybe I will send out a tone test this time. So I'm just going to hover over tone test, hit OK. And then we have the same option here to either select all, select groups, or just select individual units or sirens. But I'm just going to hit select all again, and then hit yes to confirm I want to perform the tone test for all of my sirens. So again, it will show that it is waiting. That is as the CCU is communicating with the sirens to tell them what to do. And then here we'll be able to hear that tone test. Hopefully you can hear that tone playing in the background. I could just let it run for the duration it's set for, which that was it. So now it's over. But if I did want to end it earlier than that, I could hit that cancel button and it would have canceled it early. And now if I keep scrolling down on this main menu that it brought us back to after activation, you'll see the option to run a silent test. And your system should be set up to run a silent test automatically at midnight or whatever time you have selected every day. But you can come here if you do want to run an additional silent test. And again, if you clicked that option to send a silent test, you'll have the same selection here that we saw for the other activations where you're able to pick to send the silent test to all of your sirens, to a specific group, or just individual units. I'm just going to stick with sending to all, so I will click select all. It'll ask me again to confirm if I want to perform a silent test on all of my sirens. So I'm going to move over here and hit OK. Once I'm hovering over yes, it'll say that it's waiting, and then we'll be able to see the status of the silent test as well. So now it'll tell us that the silent test is active. It'll show the active time for that test, and then it'll just end after a couple of seconds and then bring us back to this homepage here again. So those are the options for sending activations. And then I did also want to scroll down to this utilities option. And this is great if you do want some more status information or just some information about your system configuration. So you can hit this status option, and this will allow you to issue a status request to any of your sirens that you select. If you decide to retrieve the status, this will be information that you can check in the HPSA2 dashboard in your Alertus console, and then it'll also update the system information here with the most recent status information. But you'll be able to scroll through information. For example, the date and time here is the last check-in for the system. You can see the HPSA status says okay, which is good. If it said not okay, something else, then that might indicate there was an error or an issue. And then you can also scroll through some information about your charger to see if there's any faults. You can see the power status, the battery temperature and voltage. So there's a lot of good device information here. You can also see if there's any amplifier errors being reported as well. And then if I scroll back to utilities, after status, you can also come down to activation list. And this will just show you a list of all of the activations that you have configured on your system that you would be able to send. This is not where you'd go to actually send them. If I press OK to try and select one, it doesn't do anything here. I would have wanted to go back to activation where we were previously if I wanted to actually send something. But this activation list, again, will just show me a list of all the different activation options that I have configured. Then I can hit this back arrow to go back to the utilities menu, and we can keep going down the list. So the next one here is siren list. And if I click on this, it will show me a list of all of the sirens that I have connected in my system. So I have a training siren and a training RTU. So those are the names of the devices. And then if I go back down here, there is also a group list option. And this is where you can check if you just want a list of the different groups that you have configured for your sirens. And because I don't have any groups set up, I'm not seeing anything on this screen for my system. But if you are using groups, you would be able to see a list of those groups that you have set up. But I'm just going to hit back to go to that main utilities page and then keep scrolling down. There's a couple of other options here. The next one is sys version or system version. So I can click into this option, and this will just give me some information primarily about the hardware. So the make of the PCB boards that I have. It'll show me the firmware version for the operating system being used. And I can also see the version for the PCB board, which is what is connected to this LCD screen that I can see. And then I can also come down here to check the network status, and this will give me some good information about the network connectivity. So for example, I can see the IP address for the CCU as well as the MAC address. There's some other network information that can be helpful for troubleshooting and making sure everything is connected. I can also see the server IP, so this should match the host name for the Alertus console that your system is connected to. So I can see this one is connected to our training server. And I can also see the status of that server connection. You want it to say that it is okay. That's indicating that there's no issues with that connection. But I'm going to hit the back arrow, and that was all of, oh, there's actually one more. There's a CCU status here as well under the utilities menu. So if you click into CCU status, this is just going to give you some more specific information about your CCU. So you could run a time sync for the CCU if you'd like, and you can also see the date and time of the last check-in, as well as the status here saying that it's okay, which is what we want to see. And you'll also be able to see if there's any faults with the CCU charger or the power status as well. But now if I hit the back button here, that was all of the options in this utilities menu. So I'm going to hit back one more time to go back to the main menu. And then I'll scroll down one more time to see the last option, which is stop. So this is great if you did have an activation going on that you wanted to cut off early. You can select stop here by hitting OK, and then it'll ask you if you do want to cancel any current alert for your sirens. So if you did want to cancel, you would just hover over yes, click OK, and then it would send out that request to cancel the active alerts for the sirens. So we'll see waiting, and then it'll send out that cancel request. So we didn't actually have anything active, but if you did, you would hear that stop as soon as the cancel request is sent out. But those are all of the options for navigating the CCU screen here. So I am just going to go ahead and mute myself on my phone and head back to my computer, and then pass it over to Brooke as well to share some resources, and then call out any questions as well.
Great. Thanks so much, Sarah. All right, I'll come back on camera as well. So I am going to put the links in the chat that are helpful. So we have a user guide on the LCD screen that Sarah just went through. So if you'd like a document that goes through everything, please feel free to utilize that document on our knowledge base. In addition, we do have a power lunch next week, of course. And so I'm going to put in the registration link for that. It will be for configuration and capabilities of Wi-Fi and hardwired panic buttons. So I will put that in the chat. I'm not seeing any questions come in at this time, but Sarah and I will stay on the call for another minute or so. But if you don't have any questions, that's completely fine, and we appreciate your time today.